If you just got PCS orders to Naval Air Station Whidbey Island, you've probably already started Googling everything you can find about this place. And some of what you'll find might be making you nervous. So today I'm going to give you the 10 honest reasons not to move to Whidbey Island, straight from someone who works with military families relocating here all the time. Now stick with me until the end because some of these reasons are legitimate challenges and some of them are things that sound scary but actually aren't a big deal once you understand them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you're really getting into with your PCS to Whidbey Island, and you'll be able to plan for it instead of being caught off guard. Quick intro before we dive in. I'm Rachel and I love helping military families PCS in and out of Whidbey Island. This is genuinely one of my favorite parts of my job because I remember how overwhelming it feels to get orders to a place you've never seen and have limited time to figure out where you're going to live. Every single week, I talk to families who are exactly where you are right now, trying to sort out the real information from the internet noise. If you want help finding housing, understanding the different towns, or just want someone to answer your questions honestly, my contact information is in the description below. And reaching out costs nothing. Now let's get into the 10 reasons. Reason number 1, bridge and ferry access, including seasonal traffic. Whidbey Island connects to the mainland by a bridge at Deception Pass on the north end. And most military families end up living close enough to base that the ferry on the south end rarely factors into daily life. But that doesn't mean the bridge is always smooth sailing. This past 4th of July weekend, bridge traffic was genuinely horrendous. And just recently, a stalled RV on the bridge backed up traffic for miles. A few weeks before that, electrical work near the bridge added a full extra hour to my drive to Mount Vernon. The bridge is truly your main connection to the rest of Washington, so it's worth knowing that construction, accidents, and holiday traffic can occasionally turn a normal drive into a much longer one. On the flip side, the ferry can actually have increased wait times as well, sometimes up to 3 hours or more. So pick your battle. Reason number 2, the weather takes some adjustment. If you're coming from somewhere sunny, the Pacific Northwest weather is going to be an adjustment. And Whidbey Island gets its fair share of overcast days, drizzle, and wind, especially in the fall and winter months. It's not that constant rain that people associate with Seattle, since Whidbey actually sits in a bit of a rain shadow, but gray skies are common for a good chunk of the year. On top of that, the island has a noticeably different rhythm in the off-season since summer brings more daylight, more activity, and a livelier feel, while fall and winter slow way down. Families who thrive on sunshine and constant activity sometimes need a minute to adjust to that quieter, grayer stretch of the year, so it's worth being honest with yourself about how you handle that kind of climate and pace. Reason number 3. Shopping and dining are more limited than a big city. Whidbey Island does not have big box shopping malls or a huge variety of restaurant chains. And if you're used to having every option available within 10 minutes, that's going to feel different here. Oak Harbor has the essentials, including grocery stores, a Walmart, and a solid range of local restaurants. But for a wider variety of shopping, you're often driving off island to Burlington or up to Bellingham. Some families love the slower small town pace, while others find themselves missing the convenience of bigger city amenities. Reason 4, healthcare access and what it means for EFMP families. Whidbey Island does have a hospital, Whidbey Health, along with base medical facilities, but some specialty care still requires traveling off island to Seattle or Everett. This becomes especially important for families enrolled in the Exceptional Family Member Program, or EFMP, since I've talked to a number of families who came here with a child enrolled in that program. I want to be upfront that I was never part of EFMP myself, so I'm not the expert on the ins and outs of it, but from what I've seen, some families do feel like it can be harder to find certain specialized resources and support services locally compared to a bigger metro duty station. If your family is enrolled in EFMP, it's worth reaching out to the EFMP coordinator at your current command well before you move so you can get clear information on what's actually available here for your specific situation. Reason 5, housing can be competitive, so plan early. Housing is genuinely one of the biggest things people ask me about, so let's spend some real time here. Rentals can be harder to come by than you'd expect, especially during peak PCS season in the summer. And I've talked to families who ended up staying in a hotel for a stretch while they searched for something available. If you're hoping for base housing, know that the wait list can be quite long, and it's smart to get on that list and explore your options in parallel rather than waiting to see what happens. And if you're considering buying, that's a conversation to have with a trusted real estate advisor, because buying does not always make sense for every family's timeline and situation. Sometimes it's a great move, and sometimes renting is genuinely the smarter call. And a good advisor will tell you the truth either way instead of just pushing for a sale. Reason 6. Commute times depend heavily on where you live. I've been talking to people a lot more lately who say they're willing to live within an hour of base, and that's a totally reasonable plan, but I want to set an expectation here. An hour drive on Whidbey Island is not going to feel the same as an hour drive somewhere like San Diego or Virginia, because you're dealing with 2-lane roads, the bridge, and more rural driving environment rather than a multi-lane highway. It's not necessarily worse, it's just different. And going in with the right expectations makes a big difference in how that commute actually feels day to day. Reason 7. Childcare availability is a real struggle right now. This is one that comes up constantly, and I don't think enough people talk about it before they move here. Licensed childcare options on Whidbey Island are genuinely limited, and it's a real struggle for a lot of families, not just a minor inconvenience. Some families end up going the in-home daycare route, others hire a nanny, and I see a lot of military spouses lean heavily on their military community for support, especially when a spouse is deployed and childcare needs shift overnight. If childcare is a major factor for your family, I'd strongly encourage you to start researching and getting on waitlists as early as possible, ideally as soon as you know you're headed here. Reason 8. Everyday costs can run higher than you'd expect. Because Whidbey is, well, an island, a lot of goods and services cost a little more here than they would on the mainland, simply because everything from groceries to building materials often has to be brought in by ferry or driven the extra distance. It's not an extreme difference, but it does add up, and it catches some families off guard when their grocery bill or a home repair quote comes in higher than what they were used to at their last duty station. It's worth building a little extra cushion into your budget for this rather than assuming prices will match exactly what you paid somewhere else. A little hack here is that sales taxes can tend to be a little less off island than on island, so planning accordingly for that can save you a little bit of money. Reason number 9. Spouse employment can be harder to find. If your spouse is looking for work, it's worth knowing that the job market on Whidbey Island is smaller and more limited compared to a bigger metro area, simply because the island's population and business base aren't as large. There are absolutely opportunities here, including remote work, base-related positions, healthcare, education, and small business roles, but the sheer volume of openings won't compare to a city like San Diego or Norfolk. I always encourage spouses to start their job search early, lean on remote work options if their field allows it, and connect with the spouse employment resources on base as soon as they arrive. Reason number 10. The isolation is real, but so is the opportunity. A lot of people bring up feelings of isolation, and I want to be super honest with you about my own experience here because I think it matters. When I was active duty, I was told a lot of negative things about Whidbey Island before I even arrived. Mostly that I wouldn't like it unless I was really outdoorsy, and I let that get into my head for the first couple of years here far more than I should have. Looking back, I still haven't even explored everything Washington State has to offer. And I know military life sometimes limits how far you can travel from base, but there is so much more to explore right here on Whidbey Island alone. My honest advice is to step outside your comfort zone if this environment is new to you, and really take advantage of what's around you instead of writing it off before you've given it a real chance, because it truly is a beautiful place to spend this chapter of your life. So there you have it, 10 honest things to know before you PCS to Whidbey Island. And if you want to get a real honest breakdown of what things actually cost once you get here, go watch my video on the true cost of living in Oak Harbor, where I walk through real numbers so you can budget accurately for your move. And if you're actively working through your PCS right now and need help finding housing, reach out using the contact information right here in the description below. I help military families with this exact process every week, and I'd love to help make your move as smooth as possible.